I'm Ariel Sanchez, more in Twitter. We love Twitter. We're going to hype Twitter a lot. By the way, if anybody can take a picture, I want to show it to my mom later on. So just send it over. This will be in my blog, so blogs.arielsanchezmora.com, or you can just ping us on Twitter. All right, this is the agenda. A bit about us, the series, what's Ansible and why do I care. Setting up Ansible on a Linux server. There's two ways of talking to vSphere. Playbooks, value discussion of the whole thing, and further reading. So this is what I was saying, but I'll go faster. All right, this is Carl.
So my name is Carl Capozzo. I'm the Linux.
Hold on, I'll bring it up here. There you go.
All right, cool. I'm highly nervous today, but my name is Carl Capozzo. I'm the Senior Linux Systems Administrator for a retail chain, a grocer. I do tons of Ansible whenever I can. I try to automate everything. I'm a vExpert for 2018 for starting PGH Little Hacks.
So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Yeah. I'm Costa Rican. That's the accent you're detecting. I live in Pittsburgh. I work with Carl. I'm a big proponent of the V community. Anything that's V Brown Bag, vExpert, vMug, vTug, VMware Code, vBeers, vBrisket. I love all that. And I really, really, really want to see other people presenting at vMug. So if you think you can talk about it, especially because you guys are here in VM World, you probably are some of the best people in your company. Please present the vMugs, share it with other people as well. All right, this Zero to Useful series, the other stage over there, and it's like, teach me like I'm a noob. Like I don't understand. Please, could you teach me like I get taught at work when I don't understand something? And again, that's the hashtag if you want to use it. All right. Thank you.
So yes. Okay.
I'm fine.
And then turn this off.
So live demo session. We do have a CentOS machine running on this. This particular laptop has one host, one vCenter, and one CentOS machine that we're going to use to actually do this live. And if you have a test VSA somewhere, if you have a workstation, you have Fusion, or you want to do it at work, we're going to walk you over setting up that VM so you can start playing with Ansible. All right, this is where I let Carl shine.
Okay, so is this on? Can you guys hear me? I don't want to waste your time. So I'll yell.
How about this? You grab this.
Okay. So Ansible's
it's open now.
Okay. So Ansible's open source, right? Besides for Tower and stuff like that you buy as a product, you can install Ansible Engine anywhere.
No, hold it closer.
Okay. You can install Ansible Engine on any Star Nix system, Mac OS, anything that's basically Linux. I like Ansible because it's very flexible. Right, I can use it as a small systems administrator in a large company where I have a lot of hats to wear. I can configure switches. I can configure my host VMs. I can configure other portions of my infrastructure, which I like a lot. No agents, right? So minimal installation requirements. Only requires SSH or WinRM to function. And yeah, so declarative. It's a very declarative, it's like a 50-pound sledgehammer, right? So the thing about Puppet and all those, they react to systems based on configuration changes. Ansible is a 50-pound sledgehammer. You want it done, it'll do it, and it doesn't care if it breaks everything. So be aware of that. And the last thing is, it's written in YAML, which is yet another markup language, right? And I think I love that for large organizations and small because it's very readable and it's a way to talk across communities, right? So you have network guys, you have VMware guys, you have Linux guys. You're all speaking a completely different language, right? So it's like going to a different place and speaking a different language. Now you have one language to bring you guys all together. You can all talk about the same things, which is I think is cool.
So we do mean flexible. It's an infrastructure management tool. It means that your network guy can use it, the Windows guy can use it, the Linux guys can use it. As long as it has an API, SSH, this thing, everybody has figured out how to talk to everything else. It uses a lot of modules to do this interface, but the cool part is there's a lot of abstraction. You don't have to understand the modules, you just have to understand how to call the modules. All right, you want to do that one?
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So this is pretty much Ansible playbook command to execute your playbook. Everything plays in Ansible. YAML files, single YAML files, multiple YAML files, depending on what you want to do. We already went over a bunch of this. So.
Yeah, but the important part is the command executes a text file. That text file has modules that can change inventory. And researching modules is probably the most time-consuming task that you're going to have, apart from troubleshooting.
Yeah.
And this is a diagram. Some people are visual sometimes. So what you're seeing right here is users make a playbook that targets an inventory, uses the modules, and finally does the things. Super easy. So it's a new tool in your toolset. Shout out to his wife who found this GIF. That's so hot right now, right? Okay. So this is a part where we're going to talk. If you come from the Windows world, like a lot of VMware admins, not this crowd, by the way. This is how I recommend you guys set up your CentOS to make it just work. We're going to have a little Linux VM, minimal install. We set a separate admin user, and make sure you can reach the internet, patch the OS, SSH in, and these are all the installation commands you need. Install Python setup tool so you can have pip, easy install pip, right? And then with pip, you're going to install PYB-mommy, which is what is used a lot to interface in Python to the Python SDK for VMware, and then install Ansible. That's it. You can literally do this within 5 minutes of having that VM up. Good? Okay. Your first Ansible command is just an Ansible -m, which is module.
Yes, that's a ping module. -m is the module, and you like to check to see if things are functioning on your laptop before you start just developing code and figure out it's broken later.
Yeah. So you ping the local host, and you should see down there it says pong. So that means that the Ansible engine is running well. I don't know why we're getting feedback. Maybe hold it. Yeah.
Okay.
So one important thing, especially as versions change, is this command pip show PYB-mommy, for example. You have to be at the SDK level that you're trying to get for the vCenter, for example. So if you're trying to talk to vCenter 6.7, you want to make sure that your version is at least 6.7. All right, so we talked about two ways of talking to Ansible. There's a traditional, if you go to the Ansible website, you're basically using modules that rely on PYB-mommy. And I think someone else showed it a little while ago, but I just want to show it real quick. Make sure that you see it, which you don't. Hold on, let's see how I do it. Yeah, there you go. All right, so this is a bunch of modules, and they're very readable. You can just say, okay, like for example, that one that's in purple, that's a data center. So that's kind of create a data center or remove a data center. DVS, all these little things. Each one of these modules does a very particular thing using the Python commands, and basically you can call this module. The one that we're going to showcase today is Host Config Manager that allows you to set advanced ESXi options. Let me go back to the presentation. All right, you talk REST.
Okay, so REST is, everybody knows what REST is, right? It's an API that gives you access to resources and objects inside of an environment, right? So everybody's doing API first right now, so it's definitely worth your time to invest and learn it. You can use REST gets, posts, puts.
I was just going to tell you, if you hold it closer, they can bring down the volume.
Okay, sorry. You can use gets, posts to change resources and objects.
Okay. And in general, when you're talking with RESTful APIs, web servers, you just want to know 200 is good, everything else is an error. But I wanted to showcase that VMware includes a cool way to explore this. This is already running in your vCenter. If you go to your vCenter right now and go to API Explorer, and again, I'm going to leave the thing so you can go do this. Not this, right? But if you go into your vCenter and this is literally a way to explore the vCenter API that's already running on the vCSA. And it's very cool. You can actually do a lot of things in here. You can actually, we were talking about data center, for example. You can explore this as long as you log in first. And I'm just going to do a real quick login here. you can actually tell, okay, I want to see the data center. Can I try this out? And it says, yeah, go ahead. So you can see here that I have a data center called vData Center laptop. So you can explore the whole API using this interface today without doing anything else than just going to /API Explorer.
And one cool thing about that is it gives you the curl command that you can use later in your code somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
This
is very self-explanatory, and it will tell you what you need to do to invocate these calls and stuff. Raise your hand if you know who Kyle Ruddy is. Okay, he did an excellent B. Brownback video on just this part. So we recommend that you go back and see that, because he goes and explores a lot of little use cases that you might be interested in. All right. We're going to check William's last blog, because every time that VMware releases a new version, that REST API gets more and more things. So I'm going to click over here quick and get out of the presentation, sorry. And I'm just going to zoom so we can actually see. So anytime that stuff comes out with our release, you're actually going to get a lot of people saying, oh, now in the API I can do different things. So all of these things that he listed here are things that are available now in the 6.7 API. So just be aware of that. Every time that we have a release, we get more functions in the API. All right, coming back.
With APIs, you're at the mercy of the product vendor too. So.
Yep. All right, you go ahead and take this part.
Oh, it's Playbooks. Okay, so this is an example. So we're going to do that click in here? Yeah.
No, leave it like this. So basically, Carl gave you this presentation in our vMug in Pittsburgh, and his files are here when you download the presentation. But we're basically doing this live here. But first, we're going to explain the code that we're going to run. Okay?
So I want to do this part. So
yeah.
Basically, I have a single playbook that I developed to go out to vCenter, grab hosts from your vCenter, and then apply something to them using two different methods. The first one is a URI module. So in anything that you want to do in technology, and this is the method I use, I first apply research, right? So I need to find out what APIs I need to call. We did that in the last screen, and then after that, we need to import variables too, right? So importing variables in login management is hard. A lot of people use Vault these days, but for this example, and to get you started quickly, I'm going to just use a secret file, and I'm going to import it, and it's going to contain my vCenter host, my username and password. So now we're going to use a URI module to authenticate against our API, right? So the one significant thing about this is you can register values, right, to a login, and that persisted through the rest of your modules in the rest of your playbook. You can access that anywhere using those curly brace sort of secret things.
Yeah, I'm just going to go back here a little bit and explain something. When you call that file, these names in blue, username, password, and host, they become variables in that you can call in the other parts of your file. And that's why you see in here that when we call user and password, it's secret.username, secret.password. Secret is the file name that the variable name that we assign to it. So you don't have to have your code full of username and passwords. There's several ways to save them, but I'm trying to make everybody see another part here. Status code 200. If this is successful, please save the token
or cookie
to that little where it says register, to that login variable that we just created.
One more thing that's significant is that URL that I grabbed is right out of Explorer. Just variable the host name for your VCSA.
All right, and look at the next part of the code.
So now we're going to leverage our login credentials in the token we just got to get information about the hosts that are connected to our vCenter. And this is going to turn into what we call as an inventory file in Ansible, right? So I'm a lazy admin. I think everybody's a lazy admin at heart. I don't want to track big files of stuff. So I just go in through the API and pull them all into a variable and save them to my VC host to use later in my playbooks.
Yeah, the other option would be to actually have a host file that has all of this inside there. We want to have someone that just works whether you have 1 or 100 hosts in your vCenter. Okay, so whatever host we get back, we're registering in that VC hosts variable down there. Okay, almost there.
So in this specific instance, you see a lot of the same thing, a lot of the same patterns, right? I'm just reusing the same things that I have. The host name that I have a variable for, the username and password to authenticate, which I have variables for. The only thing that you see that's significantly different is with items. So for with items, that's your natural for looping technology, right? So you can actually do this and apply things over multiple hosts just by using the with item functionality in Ansible.
Yeah, and also another important part, this actually uses a plugin from PYBMommy. We're no longer using RESTful API calls. That's why you see that we're sending again the hostname and username and password, because we are no longer using web calls. These are actually Python SDK calls. And the last part. Oh, I didn't explain one thing. So the thing that this code is doing right now is setting syslog. You see out here? So we're using the advanced ESXi options, and we're going to set syslog to a particular IP address for every host that we picked up in the previous loop. Are we to cover that, or? So this one is again using the PYBMommy, but what we're making sure is, okay, we set the IP address, but is the service started? So we're making sure that the service is actually where it says state present, that the service is actually running, right? Because we could just set IP address and not do anything else. All right. This is what you should see when you run this, and this is when we're actually going to go and do it. All right, so I'm hopeful that shows. Is that readable from the back? Yeah. All right, so this is the file that we were talking about. I'm just going to scroll up and down here a little bit. Same thing that we were talking about, and that's that file that we have there. I'm going to show you just basically ls to show what files we have. I have a different file for 6.5 and 6.7 because I had different vCenter logins, but we're doing everything in 6.7 here. So once you have your YAML file, all you do is you basically Ansible-playbook.yaml file. And you can go ahead and talk about what it's doing.
So at first, it's gathering facts from the system, right? So using factor and leveraging factor to know things about the system that it's actually interacting with. The second thing, and this is all readable. You don't have to really know a lot about it. I'm going to log into my vCenter. It's going to give me a check for that. It's going to tell me it's okay. And then everything we did to set. And at the end, the significant part is at the end you have 6 okay, right, and no changes, right?
Yep. So what we can do right now is just go ahead and open that file in VI and maybe just change the IP address so we can see what happens when it actually does a change. I don't know VI, by the way. So if we're stuck here an hour for me trying to get out, so be it. I think I need to do
right click, WQ.
Yeah, but I have to do also the. Okay. Escape, and I don't know why it's doing that. Did it actually change? Let's find out. 16. Yeah, it did change. All right, let's run it again. Ta-da! Difference.
There you go, and you have one change environment variable in your state.
Yeah. Right? So any changes are going to show up in yellow, and you can see the report at the end that says, "Oh, I actually did a change." Like he said, it's going to apply the configuration. You want to know if it did anything in the end or not. All right. So we realize this is not a long presentation, but we also wanted to talk about the value of using Ansible. So let's be fair. If you've been with VMware for a while, you know that Power CLI is the first-rate citizen. It's the first thing that everything comes to play. And there's several ways to do this today. But in my case, this was the first time that I ever interacted with an API. And that for me was very, very valuable.
So for me, I'm a Linux nerd, right? So I don't do PowerShell or Power CLI most of the time. I just installed PowerShell on my MacBook. So that's the first for me this week. So I like to leverage technologies that lend to command line operating systems.
Yep. And we had a friend that did a B. Brownback video where he showed us how he used Ansible to build data centers. He's a network admin. He boots the Cisco stuff on, I don't know, self-power on mode. And from then on, everything is done through Ansible. And as long as the people cable it right, it just works, which is pretty amazing. So one of the things that we were talking about is that we enjoy the most about Ansible is that several teams can collaborate on a playbook. So changing VLANs on the switch and changing VLANs on the host can be done at the same time. It doesn't have to be two separate processes. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think I'm good. I think I'm good.
Now, most Python modules, they're open source. The ones that are listed on the Ansible site, they don't offer warranty. So where can I get the warranty here? VMware offers support for the API. So as long as you're hitting the API, VMware should be able to support you no matter how you do it. Okay. Further reading, official Ansible documentation. These are the two people, apart from Carl, that I learned a lot from. So Jonathan Frappier out in Boston, shout out. Mr. Les Smith, I don't know where he lives, but he's a dog. He's a good guy. And our friend David Kalalui, he made a series called Ansible for Mere Mortals. Again, just let us know that you want the slide, we'll send it over. And Kyle Ruddy and Jonathan actually made a presentation talking more like Bolt and all those things for VTUG. So that was at the beginning of the year. I remember I went there just to learn. All right, that's it. You want to ask if anybody has a question or anything?
Yeah, anybody have a question? It's really simple, right? So we do engine. It's really simple to get started, and that's one thing you should tie yourself onto, right? And the unified communication platform. Now, I highly recommend using GitHub or Git to start tracking the versions of your code so that you can actually go back in history and see, hey, what this playbook did and what this playbook did and why did it break this? So leverage technologies that are out there that are open source or in-house. You can use TFS if you want. And
so last year it was Carl's first VMworld, and he signed up for the hackathon, making a team called Ansible and vSphere. They didn't achieve much, but they had a lot of fun, and they got a lot of people that had the same interest. So we said, when we came back to Pittsburgh, we said, we can't wait a year for this to happen again. So we've been doing PGH little hacks every month or every 2 months, where we just get together and we share knowledge. He taught everybody in Pittsburgh Ansible, GitHub, for example. So I encourage you to do the same, and also encourage you to sign up for the hackathon tonight. There's still space. It's incredible. You have all of these people that are amazing at their jobs, and they all just want to be an observer. No, there's still space to actually participate in the hackathon. Please go ahead and do that, okay?
One last thing, infrastructure as code. Everybody says infrastructure as code. This is an easy way to start out your infrastructure as code and start managing your configuration in your brownfield environment and turning it into your own, basically.
All right, thank you for your time. Question?
Sorry?
Are you going to cover domain joining and Kerberos a little bit?
Are we ever going to domain join in Kerberos? Yeah. So for domain joining, I use free IPA, and I have an IDM system that ties into my Active Directory. We are going to expand that to Ansible and how we manage user access through that. So big Red Hat shop, we're going to probably do IDM for all of it.
Probably easier than... Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and I was really talking to somebody earlier about temporary access and checkout of credentials, like in a little session token. And I like to leverage Vault for that because it's nice, it's flexible, it works on command line, and I can get started with it now. But overall, enterprise architecture, IDM. That's what I do. Yes. In engine, no. For this session, no. Tower, yes. You should look out for Tower, and that will be your Blue Book workflow, approval process, and that manages your system access roles as well, right? So,
So to be clear, you're asking about approvals in the processes.
Yeah, I wouldn't care whether it's restaged or whether everybody's
Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Definitely look at Tower.
Yeah, this session is more about the open source and getting started. But once you get into the enterprise features, login, all those things, you want to go to Ansible Tower. Yeah.
And then, yeah, you could probably automate a bunch of that too. So using Ansible, just triggers through Tower and then push all your configuration out, and that's it.
All right. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it.